Welcome to a very special edition of the Gospel Truth. I am now interviewing David and Tim Barton from 𝗨𝗏𝗆 Ministry, and they are just a tremendous resource on American history. And we're doing this in celebration of the 250th anniversary of this nation, and we're going back and straightening out a lot of the things that have been said, a lot of misinformation that has been given about our nation, and I tell you, this is super beneficial. So we're doing this for a 2-week period on my program, interviewing David and Tim Barton from 𝗨𝗏𝗆. So we're going to go right back into that interview and pick up where we left off. You know, I've watched some things on television where they come up to the people and they say, who was the first president? And they don't have a clue.
Right.
Who did we fight in the Revolutionary War? And they'd say Spain.
Yeah.
I mean, basic things.
Correct.
And these people are just living in their world, and they're totally oblivious.
Yeah.
That's the reason what you guys are doing is just critical. I appreciate you so much.
And if I can add a thought along those lines too, so the Department of Education, this first came out under President Obama. It's been reaffirmed even under President Trump, is that Department of Education identifies from public school, there's about 19% of high schoolers that graduate every year that are functionally illiterate, cannot even read their own diploma. And part of why, again, this matters is what education is doing, it's not generally equipping students to be a success in society. It's an indoctrination program so that they will be the faithful followers of whatever the propaganda is that is being promoted out there. And so one of the solutions that we highly recommend is that parents and grandparents, they need to think very seriously about what they are doing with their kids or their grandkids' education. How can I help? How can I invest? And you might need to look for some alternative forms of education. And what is not unusual, we talk about this on our daily radio program often, and we work with a lot of teachers and a lot of public school teachers, and there are some really great God-fearing public school teachers, but they're in a broken system. Yep. And when someone says, yeah, but Tim, there's some good public schools, the line I like to use is like you telling me there's a good principal or a good teacher or somebody good at public school. That's like you arguing the band on the Titanic was really good. That ship is still going down.
That's terrible.
Right? Like that's not a good argument because it's a broken system, and what it's producing is not the thing that you want for your kids. And so one of the answers is that parents need to be far more engaged in the education of their children. Yep. We need to have far more conversations. And I heard a pastor say this one time, and I thought, this is so simple, but it's brilliant. If you're not having your Sunday evening meal, if you're not having a couple meals a week with your family, and you sit at the table and you put all your phones away and you're engaging in conversation, if you're not having those intentional discipleship opportunities of helping lead and guide your kids, and we're ingesting what happened at school, a lot of parents in the busyness of life, oftentimes good hearts wanting to provide for their kids, they are overlooking the opportunities that your kids would probably rather have mom and dad be there a little bit more than all these travel teams, whatever they're doing.
And if you aren't the one doing it, they are definitely hearing the other side.
Your kids are going to be discipled. It's not a question of if they're discipled, it's only a question of who is going to disciple them. Is it the Word or the world?
Let me say this, we're into our last day here. I sure appreciate you guys being with us, but we've talked about a lot of things, what's wrong and all of this kind of stuff. What are some of the positive signs going on? And I know that there's a lot of things we could talk about, but let me just start by saying that I believe President Trump is an answer to our prayer.
Yes.
I am absolutely shocked at how he is so bold. He embarrasses me. He intimidates me that I'm not sure I could be as bold as what he is, and he doesn't seem to care. And I think that this is something that is changing our culture.
Yep.
Now, it's not the only thing, and it's going to have to be sustained, but we are seeing things happen. Like right here in this little booklet, I prophesy that we're in the third great awakening, and then I have a second prophecy that says in 2 years, the wokeness will be gone. You will see these corporations that have been supporting it turn away from it, and in less than 2 years, it's happened. And I mean, we see the climate change, religion being changed, and there's a lot of really good things happening.
Yeah, and you know what I love is it's not just Trump. He is surrounded with so many people with the same kind of boldness, and I didn't know that there were that many people that were really committed to take in the heat. Carolyn Levitt, she just seems to thrive on all the insults she gets in press conferences.
And she's such a young lady.
She is the youngest member of the administration as far as that goes, and she is so there is something coming that's clearly not your typical public school graduate, and I'm seeing that with 𝗤𝗍𝘅 and what 𝗤𝗍𝘅 doing with the Department of War and the boldness he has, the stuff that he's doing, faith stuff, but also just the woke stuff. It's gone. And Marco Rubio, I've known Marco a long time, and he has flowered into, maybe the next president, who we'll see. Yep. But these guys, it's like it's been a refreshing rejuvenation and I think had Trump been reelected back in 2020, none of this would happen.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
He had to go through.
I even heard his son speak in Denver, and he said that this would not have happened. It was important that he missed that second cycle, because he could not have done what he's doing.
That's exactly right.
Well, and the fact that President Trump is still inviting ministers to come to the White House, he's meeting with them every week, having different pastors come in, and he's giving them time. They get to connect with them.
He's having some of the most godly services that have ever happened.
Correct.
Well, I'll take you back to Biden. On the last National Day of Prayer that Biden issued, didn't mention God or prayer. What's the National Day of Prayer for?
And then wasn't it Obama that put the White House and all of the homosexual colors? And then Biden, what was it?
The transgender individuals that came up and were undressing in front of, just like awful stuff.
And was it on Resurrection, or it was some religious holiday that he had?
Correct.
What was it?
I think it was Easter weekend that he made it transgender weekend instead of Easter weekend.
And I tell you what we're seeing right now is, I think 4 or 5 years ago, nobody would have believed that we would have seen the retreat of these
I'll even put that in on the states right now, because we've seen 27 states introduce bills to put the 10 Commandments back up in classrooms.
That's awesome.
States like Texas have put prayer and Bible back in classrooms as part of the opening day. So there's a lot going on that we haven't seen in a long time. And it's not just in D.C., it's going all the way down. Now, there's a lot of opposition to it, for sure, but it's good stuff happening.
But also the fact that God is opening doors for Christians to be able to speak into some of this in ways. We've been in the White House so many times in the last, really this year, but the last year and a half. God has opened so many doors so even this summer, there's going to be statues all over the National Mall, which for anybody, you need to go up and see the National Mall. It's incredible. We got to be part of conversations where people were saying, hey, who are some of the American heroes that should be included?
Now, these are people in the administration asking for your input.
Correct.
Isn't that awesome?
And the fact that we're able to then highlight genuine heroes. So these aren't just people that we like because it's a spinoff. No, these are actual, like John Peter Gabriel Muhlenberg, one of 19 major generals from the American Revolution. He was a pastor. And the whole impetus of him getting involved was his faith. He's got a monument in the U.S. Capitol already, but we were highlighting some of these people that today have largely been forgotten. And there are actual statues of pastors who we talked about, I think it was last week, where that pastor is one of the most influential voices on the Founding Fathers. There's actual statues of some of those pastors on the National Mall that the White House, the federal government paid for and put up because they are foundational to the story of liberty. And so not only are we seeing things, a revival taking place in various college campuses or in various states. This is actually happening from the highest levels of our federal government all the way down to the local level. And this is something that only God could have done. And by the way, only God could have done using Donald Trump because all of us, go back to 2015 when he was first running, and there's 17 people running for president.
17 Republican candidates.
And many of them were great Christians.
Yes.
Really outspoken.
Ted Cruz and so many.
Marco Rubio's running then too, but literally, Ben Carson, Governor Huckabee.
DeSantis.
So many great people that were running, and Trump was number 7, almost, maybe 15 or 16. He was the bottom of our list. We never saw this coming, and the fact, again, it's almost like when God tells Gideon, you need to lose some of that army, because at the end of the day, I don't want people looking being like, the strength of your army is what got credit. Now, President Trump might not fully acknowledge that it wasn't his leadership that is doing all of this, because there's no doubt
He takes credit for everything he can.
That's exactly right. But it's taken a lot of courage. And God had formed this man for this moment. He's not dissimilar from some of the heroes of the Bible that, although definitely flawed, so clear God built them for this moment.
He has done things that are just common sense that anybody should have done.
Correct.
You know, I said while we were eating today that he may not have drained the swamp, but he's lowered the water level so that all the critters are showing.
Yeah, that's right.
And by bringing in Musk and the way that they have overturned billions of dollars of waste, they are drying up the resources, like what's happening up in is it Minnesota?
Yeah.
And all of the fraud and stuff like this. It's just phenomenal the things that he's doing.
Andrew will be right back after these messages.
I pray that you are enjoying watching our program on YouTube, but we would like to encourage you to check out all of our different channels. We not only have Andrew Wommack Ministries, but we have Charis Bible College, we have Gospel Truth Network channel, we have 𝗙𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵 channel, and also a 𝗣𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵 channel. You could get teaching from all of these, so please check them out. All of these different channels on YouTube.
And now, here's Andrew.
With Iran, they've been declaring war on the U.S. for 47 years.
Correct.
And we've been telling them, don't do this, giving them a warning. Trump, I tell you what, I'd hate to be appointed as the leader of Iran right now because your life expectancy wouldn't be very long.
Well,
that's right.
We told you guys not to do nukes, and so we blew up your nukes last time, and you've already started another nuclear program. All right, we're just going to make sure it never happens again.
And I tell you, the precision that he's done things in Venezuela and in Iran, it is second to none.
Right. Everybody thought they was going to get bogged down with ground troops. And he's been able to do it with no ground troops.
Yep.
Nobody understands why, but that's exactly the way it's supposed to be.
And this, again, is an indication. For those of us, maybe like Ephesians 1, may the eyes of your understanding be enlightened. If you have eyes to see, then you can look and go, man, look what God is doing. Right? Where was it Elisha with the servant and they're surrounded and he says, God, open his eyes to see. I understand that President Trump is, look at all the things I'm doing. Well, yes, there's no doubt God is using you to do those, but those with eyes to see can go, look what God is doing.
Well, Trump, I can't just put my stamp on him 100% because he's just, he uses profanity that I don't like to see a Christian. You said he's using less than he ever did. But I still don't like his roughness and some of the things he does. But I think some of that is intentional. He gets people so arguing over this thing over here that they don't realize what he's doing over here. He uses that to divert people's attention. But God is using that man in a powerful way.
He is.
I love it.
Yeah, and there's just some good things going on right now at a time of, there's a really shortage of global leaders that are strong.
Yep.
Just Europe is going to have to figure out what it wants to be. You may have seen a few weeks ago now, that they criminalized posting Bible verses in Finland. Finland used to be a Christian nation, and now if you even post on your own social media a Bible verse, that's a criminal offense and you get fined for it. And so Europe is headed that way at such a rapid speed, and there's just nobody else in the world right now kind of the same way that Trump is, although I think he's kind of helping raise a generation of people that are getting bolder, and we need it, because I don't want Great Britain going under. And
people get inspired by seeing his boldness.
That's right.
And he's just speaking out like NATO and stuff. He's made them, they were supposed to be paying 2% and weren't doing it. He got them up to 5%. Now, because they haven't supported the Iranian war, he's threatening to withdraw, which I don't think will happen. But nonetheless, I think it's going to make NATO start waking up. And we've been protecting the entire world. And other people are going to have to step up.
Certainly when you have leaders who are not there for their own personal gain, which unfortunately, a lot of individuals who get elected to Congress and the Senate, some of them go with very good hearts and motives, but over time their portfolio starts growing. I
can think of one lady that had an 1,800% increase in her stocks during the time that she was in.
Isn't that so impressive?
That's amazing.
An incredible investor.
Yeah.
But along those lines, most people, the enticement, right? The love of money, whatever it is,
all evil.
Money and power has caught so many people, and I think it's caused a lot of them to not do things that would cause conflict, that would cause drama. And Trump was built for this. where he doesn't need anything from you. I don't want anything from you.
Yep.
He's really there because he loves this nation.
Yeah.
And to your point, he is not a perfect guy. When he was first running against Hillary Clinton, when I would speak in a lot of churches, I would tell people, I said, look, I understand you're looking and going, neither one of these are good candidates. I said, I understand what you're saying, but let me give you some biblical parallels. I said, this is like an election between Samson and Jezebel. Jezebel hated the things of God and hated the people of God. Samson wasn't good at following the ways of God, but he fought for the people of God.
Yeah.
And I think that's who Trump is in a lot of ways. He hasn't been the best at following God, but he actually has done incredible at welcoming the people of God into the room, in the environment, the conversation. The fact that there's somebody from the faith office that's part of every department overseeing everything they do. You speak to that for a second.
Yeah, in the faith office, there's, I think, 52 cabinet or executive level departments there. And so there's a small elite list, and every email that goes to the president, and we're talking Secretary of State, War, anything else, goes to the faith office as well. And so they're part of that inner circle.
Now, is this Paula White?
It is.
Mm-hmm. They're part of that inner circle.
I've heard her talk about that, and she says she's been President Trump's pastor for well over a decade. And she admits he's not perfect, but she said he has had a real commitment turnaround in his life.
I'll tell you, if you look at where he is now from where he was in his first term, such a difference.
Yeah, and I think Paula said that when he missed that assassination, that had a profound
impact. I heard him talk about that in a closed meeting, and he said, watch all my videos. I never turn my head that way. I never turn it that way. He said, and I turned it that way as that bullet went by. He said, that was God. And he was just real bold. And it was real clear that he knew exactly what that was. I thought, okay, so that's good because he's now becoming God conscious. And that's a hard thing to work into. An 80-year-old guy like that.
Let me ask you all this. This is being seen all around the world. And we're talking here in American context. There's a lot of people around the world that hear nothing but the negative side of Trump, and they don't hear anything good.
That's right.
How would you address that? Because I don't think that, our news is biased, but overseas it seems to be much worse.
Yeah, it is tough overseas, and this is a reflection of the growing secularism that's taking countries across the world. So many of those nations overseas, especially Europe, had biblical backgrounds, biblical roots, and they're gone. People are biblically illiterate. Now, the good news is that record-breaking Bible sales in Great Britain for the last 2 years. So something may be happening in Great Britain, but it needs to happen all across Europe. And it's hard for people who are secular and not biblical-minded to look at something that has biblical implications, understand it, and agree with it. And that's part of the problem with Trump, is because we really do believe that God's doing something great to restore America, bring that awakening in. I think he's helping that happen with the policies. And if you don't understand awakenings, don't understand God's direct intervention, it doesn't make sense. So hopefully those nations can get back into the Bible, back into their roots, back into their traditions, back into the things that worked, and get away from that woke stuff that's going on.
I just had one of my good friends from Uganda here, and he pastors a large church over there, and he's on my board. And I asked him, what are the people in Uganda think? And he waxed prophetical. And he started saying, this is a reset, not only for the United States, but for the world.
Yes. I agree.
This is resetting the entire order of the world.
I agree.
And I really believe, and it's not going to be perfect, and I can't agree with everything, but I guarantee you God is moving mightily in this nation, and I believe it's worldwide that we are having an awakening.
Well, and we've never had a president, so to your initial question of what would we tell people that maybe only heard bad things about President Trump, we've never in our history had a president who was more outspoken or bold in defense of Christianity and biblical values, who's done more things to promote pro-life, which I know he's not as pro-life as one of us would be, but he's more pro-life than any president we've had in our lifetimes.
He's the first president that ever spoke at the national rally in January for life.
And he also, in spite of what the news says, he has been one of the most constitutionally sound presidents because what he has done, he has an incredible team around him to make sure that there is constitutional authority or provision. And so even when he gives an executive order that might address some other area outside of his jurisdiction, it doesn't say you are ordered to, it says we recommend that you do. Why? Because whereas President Obama, when he granted amnesty to 5 million illegal aliens with an executive order, that was an unconstitutional executive order because that's outside the jurisdiction of the executive branch. He doesn't have the authority to do that. Donald Trump has not done unconstitutional executive orders. He has done things that has actually been more proper, constitutionally speaking, than any president in our lifetimes. It's just the media portrays him as a villain, largely because he recognizes them for who they are.
Yeah,
he calls them out for who they are. And also because he recognizes the fraud and the corruption of the system. And there's the old adage, right? If you throw a rock into a pack of dogs, the one that squeals is the one that got hit.
Yep.
And so a lot of what's happening right now, there's a lot of squealing going on because they're being targeted. And also even this notion backing up to the indication that we're in an awakening, not only has President Trump, you mentioned with Elon Musk, the things they've done to try to reduce and limit fraud, but now when you have these young kids like Nick Shirley, who is the one that first exposed the Somali fraud in Minnesota, and he's been in California. It started a movement for young people going, we want to make a difference. We're getting involved in this. And that's only possible, and it's only happening because of what President Trump started.
Yeah.
He literally, like, throw the rock in, ripples are going out. God is using that man to disrupt in so many ways. And it won't just, as you mentioned, impact America. This is a reset literally for the entire world.
Yeah, Lance Wallnau wrote a book entitled Chaos Candidate about Trump. And that really is, he comes in and just upsets the order of everything. And then when things finally settle down, it's different. He does it intentionally. So anyway, you guys have been with us now for 2 weeks. I sure appreciate you. I know you guys are busier than a one-armed paper hanger, and so I really appreciate you taking time. Tell them again about your website and this book that you were promoting.
Yeah, so 𝗏𝗏𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 beginnings, which lays out so much of the Christian foundation of the nation from Columbus all the way up to the end of the American Revolution, part of the abolition movement. That's the one I would recommend. But Dad, there's another one that we would also promote, the Founder's Bible.
Yeah, the Founder's Bible, and also I would also say the new book that's out, Lives, Fortunes, and Sacred Honor. For the 250th, we've got a book out with a short biographical story of each of the 56 signers of the Declaration. Awesome, awesome, awesome stories. They were just average, common people who did extraordinary things, and it's really fun to see. We talked earlier this week that usually most people can't name 2 or 3 names out of the Declaration signers. When you find out who these guys are, it's awesome. It's called Lives, Fortunes, and Sacred Honor.
Awesome. And so we have a lot of things coming up at our ministry on the 250th this summer. On July the 4th, we've got a new musical out entitled Finding America, and it goes all the way from William Tyndale and the first translation into English all the way through the history of this nation, because this nation really is a product of the Word of God and the liberty that the truth of the Word of God has produced. So we're going to have that, and also, Dave, you're going to be speaking at our Summer Family Bible Conference.
That's right.
So if you've enjoyed Dave, come to our Summer Family Bible Conference. Another thing we're doing for the youth, we are decorating our barn and making I think it's a 1760 set. And the whole thing is going to be built out, and all of the characters that are in this performance are going to be there. It's going to be great for kids. We just got a lot of things coming up. Also, we've got all of these programs that we've been doing for 2 weeks. And this is a USB that will have the audio and the video on it, or you could get just the DVDs or just the CDs. And then I'm also giving away this little booklet, and this is based on 3 prophetic words that the Lord gave me about the Great Awakening, and many of these things have already come to pass. That's how you judge a prophecy, whether it's of God or not, and many of these things have already come to pass. And so we'll give this to you as our gift. If you'll listen to the announcer, he'll give you the information, and we encourage you to give, but I'll send it to you free and postpaid if that's the way you want it. It's awesome. So thank you guys. I just love you guys, and thank you so much for being a part, and thank you for what you're doing. You
Yes, sir.
are awesome. And you travel all over the world, and I encourage you to just pray for them, because they do have access to the president, to the administration. God is using them. You have written, I think it was the Republican, platform. Dave was involved in that, and they are just strategically placed. And so please participate, pray for them, be a part of their ministry at Wall Builders. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 again next week as we continue the gospel truth.
To get the teaching on today's program, call our helpline, visit our website, or scan the QR code on the screen.
You know, the greatest use of your finances that you'll ever have is not just to supply your need, although that needs to happen. The greatest use of your money is to be able to share it and touch other people. And through becoming a partner with this ministry, you're enabling us to reach people all over the world. So we have information on the screen. I'd like to encourage you to become a grace partner with us today. Help us to reach farther and deeper with the gospel than we ever have before. God is using this ministry to change people's lives, and when you become a partner with us, you become a part of every one of those changed lives. Please follow the information on the screen, join with us, and become a grace partner today.